Welcome to the first of two screencasts looking at exam skills for the Youth Culture section at the SY1 AS Sociology paper. Remember that the SY1 paper lasts for 1 hour and it's divided up into two sections. So section 1, remember, is the introductory core work, and there are 15 marks for this particular section, so you need to spend 15 minutes on that first section. But the focus of this screencast is on section 2, which features the youth culture topic, and there are 45 marks in total available for this section of the exam, and as it's a minute a mark, that means that you need to spend 45 minutes of your hour in total on section 2 of the exam. What you can see on the screen at the moment is the specification for the youth culture topic, and it's really important before you go into the exam that you're 100% confident with all of the key terms that are used in the specification. So make sure that you take the time to have a look at this specification carefully, and if there are any terms that you're not 100% clear on, then make sure that you speak to your teacher about those terms. And the reason that this is really important for the exam is the exam questions will use key terms from the specification. So if you don't understand all of these key words, then you run the risk of trying to answer an exam question where you're not completely clear about the terminology. Now, what you can see on the screen at the moment is the layout for the second section of the SY1 exam. And if we look at the instruction at the top, what it says that you've got to do is choose one question from the following options. And you'll see that there are 3 options here. So clearly you just ignore the options on families and culture and community and culture, because these are not the topics that you've been taught. And instead you just need to focus on the youth culture section. And we can see on this youth culture section there are actually 2 parts. There's a 30-mark question which we'll look at in a subsequent screencast, and then there's this 15-mark question which is going to be the focus of the rest of this video. So the first thing to note about the 15-mark question is that the command words are always outline and explain. So in the question that you can see on the screen at the moment, what you've got to do is outline and explain the reasons why young people join youth cultures. And in order to get a good mark, you need to describe a range of possible reasons that young people join youth cultures, and each reason needs to be identified and outlined and followed with a full explanation of why this might be a reason. Time is important. Time management is really important. It's a minute a mark, so that means you've got to spend 15 minutes on this section at the exam. And also the mark scheme makes it very clear that what they're looking for is both detail and range. And what that means in practice is you've got to identify and then outline and explain at least 3 relevant reasons in order to get a good mark. And you can see that this is made explicit by the mark scheme. So for knowledge and understanding there are 8 marks, and in order to get all of those marks you've got to have an answer that makes at least 3 key points. Those points have got to be sufficiently detailed, and they've got to relate explicitly to the question set. They've got to be relevant, and they expect you obviously to use appropriate concepts. So you've got to use the language of sociology in your answer. And then there are 7 further marks for analysis. Again, the emphasis here is on making sure that your knowledge is really directly applied to the question that's been set, and they're expecting you to construct points that make reference to key sociological writers and evidence that are linked to the question set. And then it also emphasises the fact that your answer has got to have a logical construction. So let's have a look at the most logical way of structuring a good answer to the 15-mark question. So for each point that you include in your 15-mark question, make sure that you clearly identify the point or reason at the beginning of each new paragraph. Then make sure that you really explain and develop that point fully. Remember, the key to getting a good mark is not just having a range of reasons or a range of points, it's also describing each point in enough detail. So when you're explaining the point or reason that you've identified, try to make sure that you're using sociological terminology, so you're referring to key concepts. Make reference to sociological theories where you think it's appropriate, and try to link some of your examples to key writers and studies in sociology. And also remember that for each point or reason that you identify, you've got to explicitly link that to the question set. Don't just write everything that you know about a particular topic. Make sure that each point is really tightly linked to the question set. And then move on and do the same for your second key point, and then use the same structure for your third key point. And remember, to get into the top mark band, you've got to make a minimum of 3 key points, but the key thing is to be guided by time. So spend 15 minutes on this question, and that might mean that you possibly have time to maybe make 4 points rather than the minimum of 3. Okay, we're going to end this screencast by looking at a couple of examples of 15-mark answers. And the first question that we're going to have a look at is this one, outline and explain. Remember, these are always the command words that they use. Outline and explain why some young people belong to youth cultures. So what I'd like you to do is hit the pause button and then read the opening paragraph to this particular answer. So the first sentence really sets the scene for the rest of this mini essay. The key point here is that this essay is going to look at some of the ways in which youth cultures are a collective solution to the problems that young people experience in society, that this is a significant reason why young people or some young people belong to youth cultures. And then the first key point that this candidate makes is this idea that young people are attracted to youth cultures because it gives them a sense of belonging and identity during the difficult and drawn out transition into adulthood. That's linked to a theoretical perspective, so that's linked as we can see to the functionalist perspective, and also we've got references to some of the key sociologists that we would associate with that perspective, Eisenstadt and Parsons. So what we've got here, I think, is an effective opening to this particular 15-mark question. So we've got an introductory sentence that sets the scene for this mini essay question. Then we've got one key reason that is clearly identified, one reason why young people belong to youth cultures, and this reason is developed and explained fully with reference to the functionalist perspective and key sociologists. And what you can see on this particular slide is the rest of the answer to this question about why young people join youth cultures. And each paragraph follows the guidance that I gave you as to how to structure this particular type of answer. So each paragraph makes a key point. That key point is developed, it's explained in more detail with lots of examples, references to key terminology, references to key sociologists, and also, where appropriate, reference to theoretical perspectives. And you should also notice that this particular answer never strays from the question set. So each of these paragraphs is really focused quite explicitly on the requirements of the question set. Okay, we're going to look at one further example of a model answer to a 15-mark question, and this time it's a different question. So we've got the same command words, we've got outline and explain, and again it's the reasons, but this time it's the reasons why many youth cultures are often seen as being masculine. So once again, hit the pause button and read through the first two paragraphs of this model answer. Okay, so this is an effective opening paragraph, I think. So it makes it clear that the candidate understands the debate, and also there's good use of key terminology in this opening paragraph. So we've got this feminist idea of sociology being mainstream, we've got reference to spectacular youth cultures, we've also got reference to the Marxist perspective. And then the second paragraph, we've got good knowledge, we've got reference to a key sociologist, so Cohen, and this work is related directly to the question set, and there's some explanation of the low profile of girls, and this argument is brought into a more contemporary setting with the reference to hip-hop at the end of the paragraph. Now this paragraph is quite long, and the reason for that is it identifies two reasons, and these reasons are connected together within the explanation. So this candidate suggests that youth cultures are mainstream because the way girls are socialised keeps them out of the public eye, and then they also suggest that this has made girls less interesting to sociologists, and so this is another reason why youth cultures are often seen to be masculine. And then in the final paragraph, we've got another clearly identified reason being offered, which means that this answer has breadth. Okay, there are more than three reasons in total supplied in this particular answer. So because of both the breadth and the depth of this answer, and the fact that they've made reference to explicit sociologists, theories, key concepts, and they've kept focused on the question, for these reasons this particular answer, which was written under exam conditions, got 15 marks out of 15. So in both of the model answers that we've looked at, we've seen the importance of using key sociological concepts. So learning the key terms for this particular unit, in fact in any sociology unit, is really important. And to help you get on top of the jargon for this particular unit, I've created this Quizlet set of flashcards that have got definitions of some of the most important concepts to memorise for the youth culture section. And also both model answers have highlighted the importance of using key sociological studies in your answer. And to help you learn some of the most important key studies for the youth culture section, once again there's a Quizlet set of flashcards with concise summaries of some of the most important studies for this particular unit. So in this screencast we've been looking at the youth culture section of SY1. We focused on the 15-mark question, and in the next screencast we're going to look at exam skills for the 30-mark question on the youth culture section.